Hello, welcome back. We're not done with him. Donald Trump, a twice impeached former president and convicted felon, managed to persuade people to put him back into the presidential office in the US.
How did he do it? Well, here to unpack the president-elect's persuasion playbook is clinical psychologist Dr. Tara Logan Buckley. Good morning to you, Tara.
Good morning.
So you were just saying to me that you were not surprised by the result because you had seen Donald Trump basically execute these powers of persuasion so brilliantly, really. It was a masterclass, I guess.
Absolutely. Watching them was just watching like the classic textbook of psychological persuasion principles unfold in front of my eyes.
So what are they?
So one of the very first things is he is a master storyteller. And that's one of the main principles of persuasion, is being able to tell a personal story. Now, what Trump did was slightly different. He didn't use his own personal kind of anecdotes and talk about maybe his grievances or maybe things that he struggled with in his life that would get that kind of emotional appeal and shared human experience. But he told the story of the American people. So it was literally just telling it about how the Americans feel. Even when you listen to some of it, if you can imagine a group of old fellas around the bar that are really frustrated at how the country's running, this is how he spoke. He just gave the frustrations. And what he's doing there is not only is he storytelling, but what he's doing is he's creating a really strong emotional response, usually one of anger and fear, that's going to drive people to move and to rally towards him in his support as well.
OK, so you say storytelling. I suppose a lot of people would just say lying. You know, eating the dogs, eating the cat. Like we can just point to, oh, sure, that's not true, that's not true. And when they look at the debate, they're just going, well, that's a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie, and how many times he lies. So is that the art of persuasion? Lie?
It can depend. So if we think about some of the things he does, is he makes things quite simplistic, but he does a massive amount of repetition. If we think about his slogan, "Make America Great Again," that is using a thing called truth effect. And what happens is if we keep hearing the same small bit of information over and over and over, we start to believe that's true. And if we think about it, we commit as people usually to politics. We might be to a politician or to a political party. And we never want to admit necessarily our wrongdoings. So basically what happens is there's kind of like a cognitive dissonance. And even when our politician or a political party do something wrong, we don't want to admit the wrongdoing and we will stay behind and make excuses. So if we think about the power that Trump has and all of these skill sets that he's been using in terms of commitment, persuasion, cognitive dissonance with people, it's allowing people to keep believing him, even though they know it's false. They're still going to vote and they're still going to be committed to him.
Shall we take a look at the man in action? Here's exactly what we're talking about.
We must defeat Kamala and stop her radical left agenda with a landslide that is too big to rig. Kamala destroyed perhaps the greatest city in our nation, San Francisco. It's an embarrassment what's happened to San Francisco. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again.
God, the crowd are chanting it back to him, literally.
Because again, he's using simple language. He's taking real complex political kind of, I suppose, things that are happening within America and making it really simple so that people can understand it. He is using repetition there. He is using words that have a lot of emotional power. We will do this. We will make things great again. But if you notice how he does, he frames and anchors everything. So at the start, he will always start his speech with something that's quite negative. And if we think about it, we've got negative bias. We hold into things that are negative because they create such an emotional, strong arousal system in us. And then what he will do is he will anchor that the whole way through. And as that speech actually continues, and most of his, he will start with a negative and he will end with a negative because we become more hooked into that in terms of psychology. He uses so many social psychology theories, communication kind of theories and psychological stuff in around all of that as well. It's actually quite masterful what he does in his speeches in comparison to when we look at maybe what Camilla does. Another thing, and he did it there as well, is he nicknames and he labels. I think he called, was it Hillary, Crooked Hillary? Mm-hmm. So what he's doing there again is he's putting negative thoughts about another party into someone's mind.
So, how important, sorry Maureen, how important is playing on people's fear? How much was that a tool for him throughout the election campaign?
Absolutely huge. It's one of the biggest things that you can do. It's using emotional arousal system. So what he does is he puts in a little bit of hope, and hope is about optimism. Okay, well, I need to vote for this person because he's going to make these changes. But how does he give them hope? By rallying them up, by giving so much fear and anger. If we think about it, there are emotions that are going to drive us towards to do something. They're the ones that activate our threat system because we have a threat to us, whether that's a real threat or whether it's a perceived threat. And how we use it is through security. We won't have security if the other person is in power. Look at what's happened to immigration. Look what's happening to your jobs. Look what's happening to taxes. So what he also does is he does the in-group versus the out-group, which you've probably noticed. All of this is social identity theory. So we're all together. If you're with me, we're in this in-group. He creates a sense of unity, and we can go against the out-group, which is going to be the opposition. He does that so much.
So why does, for anyone who wants to climb the greasy pole, for like anything, for any politician, for anyone who wants to become a school principal, for anything, like why don't we all just do this? Make everyone angry and fearful so that you can get exactly what you want. Is that how we should all be obviously not how we should all be operating, but does society work in the long term this way?
Look, if we think about it historically, that's kind of how a lot of people came to power. If we think about a lot of certain kind of emperors that have been there, it's been all driven from a place of fear and from a place of anger as well as that. So yeah, it does work. It really, really does. Is it the right way to go about things? Absolutely not. If we think about like the kind of lovely characteristics that we expect in someone that's persuasive and a leader, we're looking for someone who is extroverted. We're looking for someone who's highly emotional, intelligent.
But I need a little bit of hope here because, you know, Hitler did this as well, and, you know, it all crumbles. Like, will society eventually go, I can't keep up with the hate? Do we revolt against it? We do, right? Yeah,
we do, absolutely. And if you look at history as well, that's why civilizations have come to cease, is because the people have got up and revolted. What happens is there are certain people who are more, I suppose, agreeable to persuasion, and there's other people who aren't. And it's all to do with your life experiences, your level of self-esteem, your critical thinking, and I suppose as well as how much of this can I actually tolerate anymore in society. And I think if we even look at it here in Ireland, we're at that kind of tipping edge, where people are like, actually, we can't keep going like this. Mental health, housing crisis, the cost of inflation, the cost of living, and that's what's going to happen. I think America is probably at that point where they're needing a massive change. They thought this was the change. Whether that's right or wrong, we all have our views on that. But I think, yes, people can definitely stand up to it as well. And hopefully, if we look at other leaders that have persuaded people to vote for them, it hasn't been in the same tactics and mechanism that Trump has used.
Tara Logan Buckley, clinical psychologist, thank you so much. They're eating the dogs.
And the cats.
They're eating the cats.